Hi, I'm attorney Gregory Dell here with attorney Stephen Jessup. And Stephen, we're going to discuss, do you know how your disability insurance company thinks? And the reason this question is so important is because as a disability claimant, you need to put yourself into the shoes of a disability insurance representative. But if you've never been involved in this world, you can't do that. So I want you to speak for a minute about what comes to your mind when you think about the importance of thinking like a disability insurance company.
You know, it really comes down to this idea of knowing your enemy, if you will. This is going to be some type of conflict, in the sense of battle, or say like a professional fighter. In boxing, every boxer is going to have a different style, and you have to train for that style in order to succeed. Just like that, every insurance company kind of has their own way of doing things. You find out the name of the insurance company when someone calls in. You immediately know what they're probably doing, how they're looking at the case, what steps they're going to take and part of a review or a denial, how their claim forms are going to look. So the more you know about how the company acts, you're better positioned to win that fight with them. So for me, it's always, that's why the first question usually is who's your insurance company? Because with that in mind, you know exactly how you're going to prepare for that fight.
Right, and so there's over 40 different companies that we've dealt with, and there's probably 15 major ones that are 85% of the entire industry, but we've seen all of the companies. But something unique that we've done, because we've realized that the more knowledgeable about the companies that our clients are, the better position they're in to get themselves approved and keep them on claim, is that we've built up this sense of a community and a massive section on our website for every single particular disability company. And we've been doing this for more than 15 years. And so what a person can do is go on our website, search up their company, and find reviews about a company, questions and answers that we as lawyers have answered hundreds of different questions specific to each disability company. We write about cases that we've resolved, and then we also talk about lawsuits that are out there. And we're always looking at every single lawsuit that comes out on a daily and weekly basis, because that not only shows the techniques of the different companies, which we know about already from dealing with them day in, day out, but also the way in which courts around the country are interpreting the behaviors of these disability insurance companies. And that's super important as well, because you start to see what's allowed and what's not allowed. And also, Stephen, as you know, the laws are changing, the way in which insurance companies want to handle claims are changing, because this is a people business. And when I say that, Steve, explain for a claimant who's actually making the decision, and how is that person at the insurance company going about making their decision once they're asked to review a claim?
Yeah, so technically the person who's making the decision is your claims manager. They're the ones that are going to send you the letter if there's a denial with explaining everything. But more often than not, as you know, they're kind of just a mouthpiece, because once they get the information, it's then up to them. They send it out for medical review. They send it out for occupational reviews. And then they're getting opinions from those professionals, right, as to the sufficiency of your medical records, how that compares with the ability to do the job. And then by the time it gets back to them, generally speaking, the decision has already been made by other people, and the claims person just kind of, puts it all together, puts it in line with the policy provisions, and they're the ones that are going to enter the denial letter. And we hear all the time, the claims person, they were so nice, they were friendly to me until they sent me the denial. But on the flip side, we also hear that they had it out for me from the get-go. So it really kind of depends, the experience for each individual with it. But that person who is denying your claim, I see them more as a mouthpiece. Yes, they are a gatherer of information, but ultimately the real shot callers are behind the scenes, and you're, as an insured, as a claimant, are never going to speak to or have any interaction with those people.
Do you find that the claim rep who claimants have interaction with, or who you have interaction with when you're representing a claimant, has the ability to make their own decision, or are they going to defer to the medical review done by their own in-house doctor or hired doctor versus what their personal opinion is about whether or not the claimant's disabled?
They're going to defer. They're going to defer because if it's them making their own independent decision that may be different from what the experts that the company uses for the reviews, then you get to a point where they're sticking their neck out, and are they going to risk their job for it? I don't think the claims people are bad people, but they're going to follow the protocol from the insurance company, from their employer as to how to evaluate this claim and how to do these things. In my own personal experience, I've worked on an appeal recently where the claims person indicated in the claim file, it's there, that the claim was going to be approved. But because of the amount of money owed in back benefits, it had to go through, supervisors to make a final determination. So at the claims person level, they wanted to approve the claim. Once it got up to senior claims examiners, they found a rationale to deny the claim and go around what the original claims person said. So even in a situation like that, that person wanted to, was going to approve the benefit, but then higher ups kind of shot that down. And that was in large part due to the benefit amount. As you know, the more your benefit may be, it's going to go through extra layers of scrutiny within the insurance company. But at the end of the day, I'd say, not all the time, not every time, for all intents and purposes, the claims person is always going to defer to the reviews.
And something you touched upon in the first question that I asked you, but going back to this concept of knowing how your disability insurance company thinks, how does that impact you with each specific company and the way in which you move forward with a claim? And regardless of whether you're doing the application, the appeal, or the lawsuit, are there nuances at each specific company that cause you to handle the claim in a different manner for each company?
100%. They all are very nuanced, some very uniquely so. I know we've discussed in videos, especially like Cigna for me, sometimes has the most random, nonsensical review process that a lot of times benefits the insured at the end of the day. But I can almost guarantee that they'll mess things up more in certain areas than other insurance companies. As you know, with Hartford, if someone has Hartford, there is going to be a greater chance of video surveillance being done or an independent medical evaluation. So each company has their own little way of trying to stick with it. Like you've talked in videos, Unum, they're going to roundtable it with people inside. So even though the information's being sent to a medical person, who should, realistically have independent analysis and determination. Instead, they're sitting around with the claims people and the vocational people, and they're having a roundtable discussion. And generally speaking, that roundtable discussion is meant towards, a denial of a claim. So when you're in that setting, you find that it's more likely that they're going to start to agree with the agenda leading towards denial. They look for reasons to deny as opposed to approve. So every company with the way that they're going to handle it, knowing how they're going to do it or what tactics they may use, it's a way to, be able to help the client navigate through that, and a lot of times early on avoid problems that may arise a year or 2 years down the road, honestly, especially given what the limitations for certain medical conditions may be contained in the policy. Someone can call you up, for instance, like having multiple sclerosis, but I know from experience certain insurance companies are going to try to pigeonhole that as some type of mental health problem or a physical problem that isn't the MS, so they can meet some type of restriction or limitation in the policy. So everything's very nuanced. So knowledge truly is power, as hokey as that sound. In this case, that is the case. And people, when we speak with them, they say, hey, I've watched your videos, I've learned a lot. So when they come to us, they're educated on it and they know what to expect. And when they're on board and they understand what's happening, it's much easier to work as a team with the client to be able to effectively start attacking the insurance company's positions, looking for those weak links and exploiting them to the benefit of the client.
Right, and it's interesting you mentioned Cigna and Unum, and going back for years, they've both been subjected to regulatory settlement agreements and had substantial fines. In addition to the fines, which were millions of dollars for Unum and hundreds of thousands of dollars for Cigna, especially coming out of California, they had to put in additional procedures in terms of how they were going to review the claims. And I still think it's a sham, a secondary level review where they send it to some, compliance officer or something like that who 99 out of 100 times says, yes, I agree with so-and-so who said so-and-so, and it's just a rubber stamping. So it's kind of a sham review, but it Go ahead.
You're right. Those agreements were, paper tigers. The Cigna one, all that did was, in my opinion, give Cigna a roadmap to show going forward. Look at what we did for this review. We've reasonable in our review. We knew we were wrong in the past, and we've done things to remedy that. So to me, it's just giving them a roadmap to solidify a denial and increase their chances of succeeding in court. So I don't take much stock in that.
And I think the other thing, because these claims always come down to the level of medical support and the type of review, medical review, that's done by the disability insurance companies. And certainly you and I could go through take 20 different companies and have 20 different methodologies as to how they're going to review the claim. And 9 out of 10 times they're going to do it the same way. Whether it's Unum, who's going to stick with their in-house doctor, whether it's Prudential, who's going to go out to an MES or a third-party company and ask for a paper review, whether it's Sun Life, who's going to, again, probably go back to their in-house doctors, or Lincoln Financial, who's going to use an in-house doctor and then request an IME exam. Every single one we can go through, and we've done specific videos on each of these companies, which I encourage people to watch those videos and also call us, and talk to us about what do you think's going on with my claim, what do you think's reasonable, because we're always going to offer this free initial consultation with a claimant to review their claim and let them know how we think we can help them with their claim. So I just really hope that people find the information helpful, and I encourage people to contribute. If you have an experience with your disability company, leave a review, because there may have been something that's going on new that we haven't seen that other claimants around the country. I know thousands of people come to our website every month and they read the reviews and they talk about them, and they come back month after month to look for other stuff that's going on. If you have a question, go ahead and post it on our website. There's no bad question, like the teachers always said. If we've answered it already, we'll guide you to that, and if not, we're happy to answer it. So we want to build this sense of community for everyone out there to be protected with their benefits, whether you need us or not. And we also want you to know that we're here to help you with no matter what you need with your claim. Whether it's Stephen, myself, or any of our lawyers, we're available to represent you anywhere in the country. And we look forward to help you should you need us in the future.